I stumbled on this YouTube video where there was this young, attractive woman talking about how men in Berlin are not approaching women as much as they used to anymore. And she was attributing this to the prevalence of online dating and encouraging men to be more proactive and not fear rejection as much as we do, because after all, what's the worst that could happen?
I was always told in Berlin, especially, men do not approach women. It's actually the women approach men. This
Mhm.
is something I've learned, and I had fellas approach me the odd time on the street. I remember one time in particular, I was actually on the way to a date, and a guy stopped me, and he was like, "Hey, can I buy you a coffee?" And I was like, "Nope, I'm going on a date." But I love the idea of someone approaching me or me approaching them, and I have come into 2024 with that intention of like approaching men in bars instead. I'm really done with the apps now. I've realized they're not for me. It's not working. I think we should all be approaching people. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, I know it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, but if you're rejected, it's not the end of the world. There's trillions of people out there, and no can sometimes just mean no. You don't need to
Mhm.
put it back on yourself. It's not that you're ugly. It's not that you're short. It's nothing. It's just no. We have to
Yeah.
stop overthinking it. And I love to say, rejection is protection from the universe. So maybe it wasn't meant to be. You know what I mean?
Good way to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think we all need to kind of go backwards a bit. And so
The whole time, I couldn't help thinking about the disparity between the experience of a woman who is this attractive, or even an average woman, and an average man. To hazard a guess, I think she probably enjoys something like a 1 in 50 chance of being rejected. And a guy, on the other hand, has that flip on its head where we probably enjoy, or I don't know what's the opposite of enjoy. We probably suffered, to use that word loosely, a 1 in 50 chance of being successful based on my experience and my intuition. When I say success, I'm measuring that by a first date, even. I'm not measuring that by, just simply getting a phone number, because most of the time, women are friendly enough to at least give you their phone number and maybe even indulge you in a couple of interactions through text. If it is clear that it is completely platonic, then I think they're more receptive towards it. But I think in general, as far as dating goes, which is the topic of this, they're less, they're less indulgent of that, unless you are amongst the top percentage of men out there. This is something that we cannot just explain away by just saying that guys need to, push through rejection, push through the feelings of rejection, because these feelings are very difficult to grapple with. If you go several years of your life trying to interact with women and get in the same, get in similar iterations of the same outcome all the time, at some point it's even less about the rejection itself and more about whether it's even worth expending your effort anymore. I agree with that beautiful woman on the fact that I think dating apps probably have a lot to do with that, although I we would probably disagree on why. I think the reason why I would blame it on dating apps is because I think dating apps have increased the choices that women have significantly. And I think that this is not isolated, right? I think this characteristic of dating apps has permeated our culture. And so women in real life, even if they're not on dating apps, are probably just as high with their standards on what they're looking for in men than ever before. I was going through the comments on that video, and there was a lot of arguments about how women get rejected too. So that's what elicited this reaction for the most part. But I think that to those, to such comments, I'm sure everybody gets rejected, right? But the difference between getting rejected once in a while versus getting rejected most of the time is significant as far as the feelings that it elicits. And these are not pleasant feelings for anybody. So I, I don't think we should underestimate how a frequency of such emotions can be very discouraging and distressing for most, for a lot of guys out there. That's why a lot of men just resort to playing video games and saying, fuck it. Like, why even expend all of this effort? Dating apps or technology in general, the ability to get on a plane and fly anywhere in the world included, have exacerbated our natural instincts when it comes to dating. What I'm saying is that women have always had difficulty with an abundance of options. And the problem in there is the filtration, right? Like, how do you go about determining which of these many potential mates are more suitable for you, right? And on the flip side, men have always had a problem with scarcity and trying to find whoever whoever is available to them, who meets that superficial criteria of looking attractive and who's mutually interested in them. So I think these problems have just been exacerbated. I completely agree that women have other difficulties to deal with, but I don't think rejection is one of them, and I think it's fine to be honest about that. On the other hand, I don't think men have had a problem with an abundance of options and trying to figure out how to filter out, which I'm sure is also a very big issue and one that deserves a lot of effort and prudence. But yeah, again, I don't think we can really conflate these two things together.